Hello YouTube. I want to tell you about one more strange or mysterious island in the corals. That's a very interesting area, and we're going to hear much more about it as the time goes by. It's not only because Japan and Russia have a conflict about this area, who the islands belong to, what they're hiding, and so forth. It's the unknown factor. We don't know what's inside some of the islands. For sure, we know about Matua and the secrets it holds. We still need to find out what the Russians will discover inside that island, if we ever do. But there is another island you need to know about that contains its own mysteries and secrets. This is the island in the same coral chain, the island of Moneron. Moneron is often called mysterious, and there are a number of good reasons for it. The name in Russian is Moneron. In Japanese, is known as Kaibato, but it had a previous name, long before the Russians and the Japanese held it. It was called Todomoshiri. The name means island of sea lions by the original Ainu inhabitants, the ancient people that have lived in the area where Japan is today, Sakhalin and so forth. We don't know much about where they came from, about their previous history. We do know that they suffered a lot under the Russians and the Japanese. This island is often called Island of Paradise. Well, paradise is because basically it is an ecological paradise, unlike many other areas in those waters. I don't think you can find a similar island in a number of places in the world. This is basically a diverse paradise because you can see things there that are pure, clean, the waters are pristine, and the marine life is incredible. Well, this beautiful island is not so easy to get to from the Russian mainland. You can see sometimes the hills of that island from the Sakhalin city of Nevelsk. And those who are interested in the island know that probably 6,000 years ago there were settlements of people, but we don't know who they were, what they did, how they survived, what civilization they belonged to. We know that nowadays you can find ruins of the Shintoist temple on the island, but that's because it was held by the Japanese until 1945. And we will get back to it, they created a very interesting infrastructure all over the island. But it's a small place. It's about altogether 30 square kilometers. You can barely find it on the maps. But this island contains a whole world in itself. It has 2 rivers, numerous waterfalls, splendid hills, unusual rock formations, and also rocky grottos with colorful walls. And as I said, nobody knows exactly what its past is and who lived there in the ages since about 6,000 years before. In 1991, they did find camping of the people who lived there for sure 5,000 years ago. But again, who they were, we do not know. The island became better known in the 7th century when a Japanese samurai, Murakami Hironoru, put this island on the navigation maps. And in the 18th century, the island was rediscovered. This time it was by the French who put the island on the European navigation maps. And it was the French explorer Count de la Pérouse who actually named the island after the officer who was the chief engineer on his expedition. Now the Russians held the island too for a while under the Russian Empire, and then Japan took control of the island in 1904, In 1945, Imperial Japan was defeated and the USSR took over the island. Whatever the Japanese Empire was engaged in on that island, what they did we still do not know, and it's a mystery, and the files are not available, and not only the Japanese files. So the island of Moneron became part of the Sakhalin region of the Soviet Union, and instead of the Japanese village, a very interesting village by the way, there were several Soviet ones. But under the Soviet regime, the fishing was declared to be quite unprofitable. The island became almost completely deserted. It had a population of the Soviet border guards and those who took care of the lighthouse, but the number was small. I think about 6 people altogether. I've also read accounts about the massacre of the Ainus on the island by the Japanese, but I don't have any confirmation of it, and I don't want to go into accusing someone of genocide until we definitely find out more proof about it. The Ainu people definitely lived on that island years ago, and there were even photographs of them fishing in the beginning of the 20th century. Now, as for the most interesting period, the one of the World War II, there are no archives about Soviet military operations there, but there are graves on the island of the fallen Soviet soldiers. So, once again, this island has secrets, and questions are, what is it that the Japanese were building on the Kabaito, as they call the island? Just a fishing village? Or, as some say, was this their center for the preparation of the special espionage agents and sabotage intelligence officers? Or, which is also quite credible, was this a base for the Japanese mini submarines? There were 2,000 people in that Japanese fishing village. So why would the fishermen need a special lighthouse? And what's important, lighthouse that has very complicated underground communications. The Japanese also put 25 or more mile telephone cable under the sea from the Sakhalin island to Moneron. But why? Why would they need this? They had built excellent roads, a pier that is still functioning today. They had meteorological station, but all of it doesn't fit in with just a simple fishing village. They also had special construction in the Bay of Chuprov, and no one knows exactly what is it that they needed to have with the pier that has 8-meter deep construction in the rocks. What is it that what it is hiding? Why are they special constructions that are traversing natural apertures between rock formations? Even today, the experts are astonished when they look at this, and they're not sure what's going on. So we don't know what the Kabaito what exactly meant to the Japanese. What is it that they wanted to build in the grottos? Mini submarines, special forces training, or maybe something more sinister. We just don't know enough. Why would they need a special takeoff area for the advanced aircraft? Also, we're not sure about the fighting. As far as we know, there was no fighting whatsoever on that island when the Red Army took over. So there is not enough information, not one word. People looked for the secret files, archives, nothing was found. Are they hidden somewhere? Then why? Were they destroyed? Then why would it even be so done? And again, we gotta go back to the fact about the graves of the Soviet soldiers on the island. What battle were they involved in that they were killed? Who buried them? There is nothing in the files that are available about the Soviet military operations in the Far East in 1945. Twice in the recent times, the island went through what could be called disasters. One was in 1971 during the Moneron earthquake, which changed the landscape of the island, and the other one was on September 1st of 1983. Those of you who had actually lived through the Cold War period will remember this day well, because on September 1st of 1983, the Korean Air Flight 007, it was a Korean civilian airliner, flew over Soviet Sakhalin, and it was shot down by the Soviet Union, just west of the Sakhalin Island. It was near the Moneron Island. Now, the Soviets claimed that it was a spy plane, and they shot it down for straying into the restricted Soviet airspace. Its precise position and final distance from the island are disputed. The Korean airplane was brought down by a Soviet fighter interceptor jet missiles. The pilot was Gennady Osipovich, and this was again in the area near the island. All 269 passengers and crew died, including the U.S. Congressman Larry McDonald. The airplane spiraled around Moneron Island twice during the final phase of the controlled 12-minute descent. The eyewitnesses talked about burning fragments which fell into the sea, but no fragments were discovered. But sometimes people find strange objects on the shores of Moneron. And as I mentioned before, the island became part of the Sakhalin region after World War II. The fishing villages did not stay open long under the Soviet regime. The island is part of the secret border zone, and the only people that live there today are those that tend to the lighthouse and border guards. There's a small hotel there too on the island. There are ruins from the Soviet border guard station from 1940s, 1950s. Not much is known about that period. Now, to get to the island, it's not easy. Not everybody can do it. It's not even the cost of the, to get to the island. But most important is that one cannot stay there too long, no more than 2 days. It requires a special permission of the current KGB, FSB, to get permission to the island, and it's very hard to get it. So, instead of developing tourism, we have this secrecy surrounding one of the most pristine places on earth. Well, I want to add that I recommend anyone who finds a way to get there officially to check it out and see all of its marine bounty, because it's incredible, the marine life that's there and which was described to me. The island itself is very small. You can walk around it on foot within like 6 hours. The island's highest spot is Mount Staritsky. It's about 1,443 feet. To get to Moneron, you have to start at the small port town of Nevelsk. And there are cutters, speedboats that provide transportation to the island. This is the only island, by the way, in the Kuril archipelago that is washed by the warm, narrow Tsushima stream. It's coming from the subtropical south. Maybe that's why there is the abundance of exotic marine life. And more species are being found, by the way. It's a beautiful island. You have alpine meadows, you have waterfalls. You have a lot, like I mentioned, on that island if you get there. The distance from Sakhalin to Moneron's harbor is about 43 kilometers, but it doesn't mean that you can get there just because you have permission to. The waters of the Tatarsky Strait are very rough. It could take quite a while to get there. And sometimes, again, there is no guarantee that you would. However, to see the beautiful sea lion colonies, very tall summer grass, waterfalls, it's worth it. Also, some of the most interesting areas of the marine life are the so-called sea cucumbers or the sea ginseng, and there is quite a lot of poaching going on because it's a very precious commodity in the Far East due to its special properties, as some people believe. So the Chinese are buying tons of it and take it abroad. The money is good. It can be $300 to $400 per day for the poachers, and quite a lot of them are in the waters of the island. So if you do want to have excellent diving, do go to that island. And if you do want to look at a place which definitely contains some of the secrets that these Russians have not even gotten to serious research about, then definitely go there. It's not Matuwa, but it's got enough to keep you interested. And I'll go back to the Kuril Islands over and over as much more information comes out about the UFOs, USOs, other paranormal phenomena, and a subject that's very interesting to me, the secret and ancient tunnels of the Sakhalin Island. So stay tuned and we'll explore more of the Kuril Islands in the future.